Hey Josh, I'm Mr. Hare, and you sent me an email asking me 8 questions about my involvement with NASA and how I got started in aerospace. So I wanted to just make this video because I think it might be easier for me to talk to you and show you some pictures rather than just respond to you via email. So let's get started. Number one, you said, how did you get into the field of rockets? I actually got into the field through a student of mine, believe it or not. When she was in high school, she was very interested in becoming an astronaut, and when she got to college, she was in a program that did microgravity research, and so she called me up and asked if I wanted to help her out, and I said yes, and I've been doing it for probably 5 years now. She's now a rocket scientist down in Huntsville, Alabama, working for Boeing. So I've actually forwarded on your questions to her because she's an actual rocket scientist. I'm just a high school teacher who does this on the side, and she's a professional doing it for a living. Number two, what is it like to work in a NASA program? It's pretty awesome. NASA is a really huge entity that has different places all over the country that do different specific things. And I work primarily through Houston, Texas, where you hear the thing, Houston, we have a problem. They're talking to Houston, which is at the Johnson Space Center. It's awesome. It's a great thing to talk. I've actually talked to 5 or 6 different astronauts, just like you and I are talking right now, to ask them all sorts of questions, and it's really great. Explain your most memorable experience with rockets. I don't have experience directly with rockets. My experience is with microgravity research. So how things behave when they're weightless. Things behave really differently when there's no gravity. Like if we were to just shut gravity off right now, things would go pretty crazy around the room that you're in. So what we do is we try to look at the human body, how does that react to weightlessness, and then the objects that they use to get around in microgravity. We try to help astronauts do a better job and live a more comfortable life up in space while they're there. Question 4, did you always want to be a part of the rocket world? Why or why not? No, not actually. I mean, I was a kid who loved science. When I was in high school and middle school, I subscribed to Popular Science when I was a kid. And I was a physics minor and a math major when I was in college, so I really liked science, but I didn't know that I would end up doing like a side job for NASA. It was all because of my friend Julie, and I can kind of tell you a little bit more about Julie. I pulled up her Facebook just so you can kind of see some pictures. She's pretty incredible. Here's a picture of her with an astronaut. I've met a few of them myself. Julie was a part of this thing called Microgravity University right here, where the experiment, if you look at this picture right here, this is actually my experiment down at the bottom that's attached to their experiment in this glove box right here. And the glove box is just a box that keeps your experiment safe in case something were to break. So this is her. She's been doing all sorts of fun stuff. She could maybe tell you a little bit more if she decides to respond to you. What is your main design for rockets and why? I said before, I don't really primarily work with rockets. I work with microgravity, and I just wanted to show you just a little bit of a quick video that talks about microgravity and specifically the plane that I work with to do my research on. So I thought maybe we'd take a couple minutes, and I'll put a link to this video if you'd like to watch a little bit more of it in your own time.
Weak gravity, about 1/1,000,000th of what we feel on Earth. For nearly 40 years, NASA has been conducting research in the microgravity environment of space, performing experiments and making discoveries that benefit people on Earth. How does scientific research in microgravity differ from research conducted in 1G? How does the human body react to weightlessness? What does it feel like to float free, untethered and weightless, when there's nothing to hold you in place? If you were offered an opportunity to perform experiments in microgravity and experience the sensation of 0G, would you do it? Since the mid-1990s, more than 800 college students, the next generation of scientists, engineers, and astronauts have done exactly that.
So this is the plane that we work in right here. They're inside of a plane right now.
where we do all of our...
In 1995, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration created the NASA Reduced Gravity Student Flight Opportunities Program, also known as the Student Campaign. The Student Campaign is a highly competitive annual program which provides a unique academic experience for undergraduate students. Students from around the country form teams to propose, design, fabricate, fly, and assess a reduced gravity experiment of their own choice over the course of 8 months. If their proposal is selected, each team travels to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas for a flight aboard NASA's KC-135 microgravity research aircraft. NASA has been flying its reduced gravity program since 1959. From the early days of the space program, through Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and the Space Shuttle, the KC-135 has served as a flying laboratory where scientists have conducted research in fluid physics, combustion, material science, and life sciences. The KC-135 is also used for astronaut training and as an engineering test bed for developing and testing new technologies before they're flown in space. The aircraft was also used during the filming of the motion picture Apollo 13. Director Ron Howard, along with Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton, spent several weeks filming weightless sequences for the film in the microgravity environment of the KC-135. The pilots are able to create brief periods of reduced gravity on the KC-135 by flying a series of parabolic arcs. The plane climbs at an approximate 45-degree angle, then noses over into a 45-degree dive. This creates about 20 to 25 seconds of microgravity.
When you first... So that's kind of what we do, is we get on that plane, and that plane does a series of arcs, and you're weightless for a little while. What we're doing right now is we're trying to make it's about the size of a Rubik's Cube, if you're familiar with that, or like it's like a box that's the size of a baseball that's got 3 spinning weights inside of it that keeps a camera still. So when you let go of it in zero gravity, it doesn't start tumbling around. What it's going to do is it's going to stay still and keep a camera pointed. Eventually, we'd like to be able to hook a sticker or an infrared LED or something to an object of importance, and it can track it in zero gravity. So you'll just take this object, put it up there with the camera, a little GoPro camera on there, and it can track you around in microgravity. Were you interested as rockets as a kid? Absolutely. When I was a little kid, I think I was 12 years old, my parents took me down to the Kennedy Space Center, which is in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and I loved it. And they took me, we did Disney World and SeaWorld and everything, but they took us to NASA because they knew that I really liked science, and I think that was it was a really neat experience. I still have the hat from that trip when I went there 20 years ago. What did your parents think about you and rockets? I know that my mom and dad are very proud, and I know that they think it's kind of humorous that I take 6 high school students down to Texas to fly them that weightless wonder to test out our experiment. And I know that it'll be a pretty big deal if we ever can get our experiment ready to fly on the International Space Station. I know that would be a really cool thing if Platteville High School developed a product that actually is working up on the space station. So that's our goal, and I think that my parents and our community and our state would be really proud if we could do something like that. And number 8, who helped you reach where you are today, and how did they? Well, my physics teacher, he teaches at Lancaster right now. His name is Stuart Harper. He was a great teacher. I really enjoyed all the cool demonstrations that he did, and so he really turned me on to science. And then, like I said, Julie Mason, she's that student of mine who now works down in Boeing. She is a real inspiration to me. I've had interactions with a bunch of astronauts. There's a particular one, his name is Chris Hadfield. He's with the Canadian Space Agency. He's done a lot of really cool videos. You could look him up on YouTube, Chris Hadfield. I'm sure I could find a few of them really quick. We won't watch them, but I'll just show you kind of what his name looks like. But he's got all sorts of really cool stuff. If you just do a YouTube search on him, he does really neat things like how do you brush your teeth in space. He sang a song up there. He answers all sorts of neat stuff, like what happens when I wring a cloth in microgravity. This guy right here. How do you go to the bathroom on the space station? Like, how do you eat in space? So there's all sorts of really neat stuff that this guy, he's made really quick 1 or 2 minute videos. If you're interested, you can check him out. Well, if you need anything else, Josh, I would encourage you to just keep sending me emails if you have anything else. I'd love to um, involve you in our program, that NASA program that we do. Like if there's something that if you have a group of students or friends that want to make a small little experiment that I could take down to Houston, Texas with me and fly it in zero gravity to show you what it does, I would love to do that. So if you have any cool ideas of a small experiment that you'd like to do, please by all means just give me an email, ask me if you're interested. I can kind of tell you what you can and cannot do. If just you can run some stuff by me, and I'd be glad to help you become involved yourself, because it's a really neat thing. So I hope that you have a good week, and I hope that you get all the answers that you needed from me. And if you need anything else, please let me know.